Remember The Loud House? Back when the show first came out in 2016, I had such hope for it. After almost a decade of promising shows airing on Nickelodeon and then being killed because they couldn't pull in the SpongeBob numbers, we got this one. The shorts used to advertise the thing showcased an interesting premise: a boy living in a large family with 10 sisters, and each of those sisters having an array of unique personalities, all making for very interesting characters. And beyond that, The Loud House did the impossible. It aired on Nickelodeon to great fanfare. While at the start it was a bit clunky and had a couple of bad episodes here and there, it was an animated show that finally managed to dethrone the sponge. Could this be the show that would lead Nickelodeon to a new era? Would the sponge finally be able to rest? It really looked like this would be the show that could replace SpongeBob SquarePants, in every sense of the word. Be careful what you wish for is a common moral in kids media, and yet some of us still seem to have difficulty learning it. I reviewed 2 episodes of the show before, one in a compilation review that we're not going to talk about here, while the other one was One of the Boys. It was an episode that was a standout for me, in a not so good way. It had a really interesting premise, but really botched it. Even beyond that though, it was a cut above what I usually reviewed, and because I still felt that the series had promise, I was going to give an episode a positive review soon after. Then the Chris Savino controversy hit. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the events of said controversy here. There are better people than me to talk about them. But to put it as basically as I can, Chris Savino was accused of unwanted sexual advances, sexual harassment, and blackmailing female colleagues, which got him suspended from Nickelodeon. Normally, I try to separate the art from the artist. Even reviewing something like Cans Without Labels, my distaste towards that had nothing to do with who John Kricfalusi was and is as a person. It was just a truly terrible piece of animation. That being said, it's harder to praise something by, let's call him a controversial creator, especially since it immediately gave certain episodes I wanted to talk about an awkward coat of paint. There were 2 episodes that I considered before the scandal broke out, both of them because they really showcased how good Lola was as a character, with the bratty little sister archetype, how she managed to make her older brother's life more difficult without being completely unlikable, like, say, DW from Arthur. The first episode was The Tattler's Tale, which was an episode where Lola learns that you shouldn't tell on the wrongdoings of others. Chris Savino was not a writer or a director or anything on that episode, but the controversy makes the episode read very differently to me. Similarly is the other episode I wanted to review, Undie Pressure. In this episode, Lincoln wants to go around in the house in just his underwear, to which his house full of female sisters does not want him to. You can see how the Savino thing makes this awkward, right? So Nick gets rid of Savino, and a lot of this awkward shit does go away. By the time we get to season 4, Lincoln dancing in his underwear and the entire family twerking is a thing of the past. We are finally on the right track. Unfortunately, the only thing it costs is literally everything else as the show rapidly goes to shit. You know that trope you hear all the time, only the creator does it right? People will say it when shows start going downhill, like SpongeBob did when Steven Hillenburg left, or The Simpsons when Matt Groening moves on to Futurama. And there definitely is some logic to it, except in cases where the more involvement the creator has, the worse the show is, like with Danny Phantom. Usually the creator has the most pure understanding of their work. They've known it the longest and can understand its strengths better than anyone else. The problem, of course, is that this trope doesn't just apply to good people. Let me be absolutely clear here. No show on Earth excuses anything that Chris Savino did. Nickelodeon was absolutely right to remove him. That being said, since Chris Savino's departure, the show has gone downhill heavily. I'd imagine it's because Nickelodeon itself has gotten its tendrils into it deeply and is doing its Nickelodeon thing. Spin-offs, extra episodes, a live-action special? You're serious, really, we're doing this again! And yes, I am going to give each and every one of these little things its own due diligence in time. I've held off reviewing The Loud House in most cases since the Savino controversy happened, so I thought that I'd address it here as we get into talking more and more about The Loud House, because I have this feeling that we're going to be talking about this show a lot more going forward. It's sad, really. A show that seemed so full of promise is now reduced to having its first seasons feel awkward, and its later seasons feel awful. Then again, not everything out of the gate was so awesome. Let's talk about No Such Luck. Now, this is an episode that comes from the show's good seasons, but it is one of the most infamous episodes to ever come out of The Loud House. Funny story, upon first watching it, I didn't have too much of an issue with it. No, I have no idea what I was smoking at the time, because this episode is awful. Fucking awful. And it's a good place to start with our Loud House roundup, because this episode is a pretty good showcase of what makes bad Loud House episodes bad. Let's start with issue number 1. Lincoln, or the character being tormented, wants something that's actually reasonable, but the episode does not agree. So it starts with all the sisters going on about this or that activity that they want everyone to come out for.
Hey you guys, don't forget my golf tournament's this afternoon. You're all going to be there to support me, right? And after that, you're all coming to my charity fashion show, right? And after that, don't forget my grave digging competition.
Once in a while, a guy just needs some time to himself.
This is understandable. I mean, it's not the most innocent or pure motivation, but it is something that anyone could sympathize with, even if they don't have a busy family. The problem is that for what Lincoln goes through in this episode, you'd think that he'd done something truly heinous. Like, one of the worst things that you could do to another person. For wanting some time to himself, let's see here. Lincoln gets pushed out of the family, locked out of his room, denied a family trip to the movies and later to the beach, and also has to spend the night outside, before being locked out of his home and more or less disowned by his parents. None of these are exaggerations. This is literally what happens in the episode. Part of this is because of issue number 2 that makes Loud House episodes bad, and that's Lynn. Or barring that, characters who are just Lynn in another skin. I used to bring up flanderization a lot in my younger days. It's when a character's reduced to their base traits, and those base traits are ramped up. Now for some characters, this actually isn't as bad as it is with other ones. Like, take Lucy for example. If she gets more morbid or mopey, it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things, and it doesn't really affect your enjoyment of the show too much. However, Lynn's main traits are being extremely rough, which gets flanderized into being a bully.
Sorry, Lynn. I just can't do it today.
Sure you won't reconsider?
And being superstitious, which gets flanderized into, we'll get there when we get there. Once again, this episode comes early in the series. It's only in season 2. But Lynn suffers from what I like to call the Patrick Star effect. Growing up, you watch an episode like I'm With Stupid and you don't mind it too much. Patrick is definitely being a bit of a jerk, but it's pretty funny, and it doesn't seem too mean-spirited. Then you watch it again as an adult, after watching episode upon episode like Pet Sitter Pat, Yours, Mine, and Mine, or The Card.
SpongeBob, you can't always expect my usual brand of stupidity. I like to mix it up. Keep you on your toes.
And it really does affect your perception of him in those earlier episodes. Lynn, unfortunately, has a similar thing going on. After watching what she does in an episode like Schooled, which, yes, I will get to, it makes me have even less patience for her than I otherwise would in an episode like this. She threatens Lincoln with her softball bat, and then when they lose, she blames Lincoln for it, throwing a banana peel at him. And then she spreads the idea of him being bad luck around to the rest of the family. Excuse me for just a moment. You asked him to come! To the point of threatening him with a fucking bat! Issue 3, in episodes like this, all of the characters become super stupid to force the plot to work. So Lincoln wants everyone to think that he's bad luck, so he doesn't have to keep going to his sister's things. Lenny and Lana and a few others believe it quite easily, which is believable enough in itself. But then you got the scene with Lori and Lisa. You know, the smart ones.
There's no such thing as bad luck. There's only science.
12 seconds later.
I retract my earlier statement. Back, ye cursed wretch!
That's all it took. One tiny little trip. Hey, Lisa! All movies are terrible. What? That's nonsense. I've seen some good movies. Chicken Little. Oh my god, movies are evil! It's so fucking forced. But you know, I could excuse this. I really could. It's when the parents get involved that these episodes go from annoying to reprehensible. Yes, the parents are right along with the bad luck deal. These grown-ass adults, one of which went to fucking medical school, gets super nervous that their son is unlucky to the point of locking him out of their fucking house. I get that it's supposed to be over the top and funny, but it's just not funny. It's sad and cruel because the parents are fucking morons. Honestly, it's an episode like this that ends up damaging your view of the show overall. One of Loud House's strengths is that showing, despite it all, the family remains close. They go through a lot of hardship and give a lot of hell, but they all love each other at the end of the day. I'll stick by you, bro, day and night. Oh wait, you're bad luck. Get the fuck out of my sight. I never want to see you again. Seriously. That's all it takes for you guys to not want to deal with your own brother! Lynn, sure, that's established. She is awful. Lenny is stupid enough to believe something like this, but she's not heartless enough to lock Lincoln out of the house. Not into season 4 anyway. Ha ha ha, I love you so much, Lori, I'm gonna destroy your future. Once again, we'll get there when we get there. I got a lot of making up for lost time, is what I'm saying. This is what happens when you don't keep up with the show for a few years.
Whoa. Not so fast, son. I wish you could come, but with your bad luck, who knows what could go wrong.
You're a grown-ass man. He's your son. We established that. Like, it'd be one thing if Lincoln didn't get to go to the movies, and that was just the parents just trying to teach him a lesson. The episode might have actually worked like that. But no, it's clearly established that Tweedledee and Tweedledum here really do believe their son is cursed to the point of locking him outside of their own fucking house. It's just a bad look for everyone. And yeah, cartoons can definitely get over the top. It's not the worst thing that we've ever seen a parent do to a child in a cartoon. Just a cursory look at Fairly Odd Parents will show you several things that one-up it. The problem is that episodes like this turn the Loud House's strength on top of itself. The show lives, and it dies, on showing that the family does care about each other. That's what makes the good episodes so good. So when it has these responsible, mature parents acting like Mr. and Mrs. Turner because of a stupid superstition, it feels like this is fanfiction from someone who's never even seen an episode of the show. The only characters that are remotely in character here are Lincoln and Lynn, and as we established, that's not exactly a good thing. Not to mention there's very little Lincoln could have done to deserve what he gets. In the end, he just lied about being unlucky to get out of some obligations. What if Lincoln pretends to be sick to get out of a day of school? Does he deserve to be sent to the CDC to be dissected? Because that's basically on the same wavelength here. And it didn't make Lincoln's desire seem the most unsympathetic either. He just wanted some time to read his comic book in his underwear. Okay, so we're done here. The review's over. Goodbye, everybody. Good night. I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Hey, you've reached the end of the video. The names scrolling by right now are of all the wonderful patrons who donated to help keep this channel alive. If you'd like your name in the credits, head on over and make a donation yourself. Also, be sure to check out my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for exclusive content and previews of my upcoming videos. I've also got a forum where you can discuss anything that has to do with my content and connect with the rest of the community. To find anything that I mentioned, just visit my link tree in the description down below. Lastly, be sure to subscribe, comment, and share this video with your friends. Oh, and thanks for watching.